All right, class, settle in. Think of this as your official professor's guide to acing that ecosystem's final. It's right around the corner, and we're going to do a high-speed cram session to make sure you walk in there and absolutely crush it. Okay, let's get into it. So, I know it can feel like a lot, right? You're trying to memorize everything from the freezing tundra to a steamy rainforest. But here's the secret, the key to the whole thing. Every single one of these ecosystems, no matter how different they look, is built on just a handful of core principles. If you can master those, you're golden for the exam. So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to knock out some essential vocabulary. Then we'll get into the big picture ideas, these 4 pillars that actually build ecosystems. After that, we'll zoom in on some really important species, hit you with a quick pop quiz to see what's sticking, and then we'll wrap up with the one big idea I really want you to take with you. Okay, section 1, the basics. Look, getting these simple definitions right, that's how you bank easy points on the test. So let's lock these in right now. First up, a biological community. This is simple. It's just the living stuff. We're talking about all the different plants, animals, fungi, you name it, all living in the same area and, this is the important part, interacting with each other. It's the whole web of life. Now let's just add one more layer to that. An ecosystem, it's that biological community we just talked about, plus all the non-living, or the scientific term, abiotic, things it needs to survive. So now we're adding sunlight, water, the soil, the air, all of that. And this picture here lays it out perfectly. That circle in the middle, that's your community. The deer, the frog, all the plants. But the ecosystem is the whole shebang. It's the community and the sun that's powering everything, the water they all need, and the ground they're all standing on. You know, think of it this way. The community is who's at the party. The ecosystem is the party and the house it's in. And that brings us to section 2, the 4 pillars of formation. Now, I want you to pay close attention here because I guarantee this is going to be your big essay question. These 4 things are the fundamental forces that build every single ecosystem on the planet. And here they are. You've got climate, soil, how species interact, and finally, disturbance and something called succession. You can think of these as the 4 main architects that are constantly designing and sometimes redesigning the entire natural world. Let's start with pillar 1, climate. This is the Whittaker biome model, and it's brilliant. It shows us that you can pretty much map out all the world's major biomes using just 2 things. Temperature, that's on the bottom axis, and precipitation, they're on the side. What does that tell us? It tells us climate is the boss. It sets the fundamental rules for what can live where. Is it hot and wet? Boom, you get a tropical rainforest. Is it cold and dry? Well, then you're going to get a tundra. Okay, pillar 2 is literally the ground beneath our feet, soil. And it is so much more than just dirt. It's the foundation that controls what plants can grow, which then controls the entire food web above it. You get different soil, you get different plants, and that means you get different animals. It all starts from the ground up. And pillar 4 is disturbance. Now, things like fires and floods, they might look like total destruction, right? But in ecology, they're actually catalysts for change. They basically hit the reset button on the landscape, which kicks off this predictable process of recovery and regrowth that we call succession. All right, now let's zoom in on pillar 3, species interactions, because you're going to find that not all species play an equal role. Some have such a massive, outsized impact that they're basically sculptors, physically shaping their entire environment. Okay, listen up, because this is a classic exam question. You have to know the difference. A keystone species has a huge effect, even though there aren't many of them. Just like the keystone in a stone arch. If you pull that one stone out, the whole thing comes crashing down. A foundation species, on the other hand, is an ecosystem engineer. They are the ones physically building the habitat. Let's make this crystal clear with some real-world examples. Sea otters, a textbook keystone species. There aren't that many of them, but because they eat sea urchins, they save entire kelp forest from being wiped out. Now, beavers and corals, they're foundation species. Beavers literally build dams and create brand new pond ecosystems. And corals build reefs, the actual physical structure that thousands of other species call home. All right, you knew it was coming. It is pop quiz time. Let's see how much of this has been sinking in. I'll ask the question, you think of the answer. You ready? Let's go. First one, a beaver builds a dam, floods a meadow, and makes a new pond. Is that beaver a keystone species or a foundation species? If you said foundation species, you got it. It is physically engineering or building a new habitat. Question 2. Let's go back to the basics. What do we call all the living populations interacting in one spot? That is a biological community. Easy points. Okay, next up. Think back to that Whittaker diagram. What's the main master variable that decides if a place becomes a lush forest or a bone-dry desert? It's climate, but specifically, it's precipitation. Water is everything. Here's a classic one for you. Sea otters. Not many of them, but they have a massive impact on their environment. This makes them a keystone species. Perfect. All right, last one. A fire rolls through a forest. It burns the trees, but the soil is still there. What do we call that whole process of recovery and regrowth that happens next? That is succession. And for bonus points, since the soil was already there, it's called secondary succession. Nicely done. You made it through the pop quiz. Now for our last section. Seriously, if you only remember one single thing for your exam, please let it be this. Your final isn't really about just memorizing a list of biomes. The real goal is to understand that these places are not static photographs in a textbook. They are living, breathing, dynamic systems that are constantly being shaped and reshaped by those 4 pillars we talked about. And that brings us to maybe the most important concept in all of ecology. A healthy, stable ecosystem isn't one where nothing ever changes. No, a truly stable system is one that can take a hit, it can handle a fire or a flood, and it has the resilience to bounce back. Stability is all about the ability to recover. So I'll leave you with this. These ideas, these pillars, these key species, they're not just for a test. They are happening all around you right now, in the park down the street, in the river flowing through your town, even in the weeds growing up through a crack in the sidewalk. So the real final exam? It's out there. The question is, how do the ecosystems around you show these incredible pillars of formation and change? Think about it. Good luck on the final.